Went over as good elements within Cassandra's paper, let's take a moment and review Jay's paper quickly and see if we can identify those same elements. For this thesis paper this semester, I would like to write about student athletes and the compensation they receive for their contributions to college athletic departments. Okay, that's weak. As we know, we want statements stated as statements or a big hook right up front at the beginning of a paper. So instead of saying for the thesis paper this semester, he could have wrote student athletes, the compensation student athletes receive for their contributions to athletics departments is adequate, or something very concrete, his thesis, and or a big hook for why student athletes receive a lot of benefit. The current model is based on scholarship programs that pay for some, but not all of their college expenses. Fantastic background right here. Needs to be cited with an example. I believe the current collegiate scholarship program more than fairly compensates student athletes. He doesn't need the I believe. We know it's his opinion if it's not cited. That's why it's so important to cite background information, because it can be confused with opinion. We find a researcher's thesis statement by finding a phrase that is clearly an opinion but not cited. So he could have wrote, the current collegiate scholarship program more than fairly compensates student athletes, and I would have known it was his thesis without the I believe. I tend to think people are misled when it comes to viewing a program's revenue because they fail to look at the fine print. Okay, so the problem that we're having with this is it also seems like another thesis statement because it is clearly an opinion. It is not cited, so it seems like we have 2 thesis statements. And if you are confused with the background information, it could seem like 1, 2, 3 right in a row. And if we cite this, we get rid of this problem. If we get rid of the I believe here, it's clear thesis, but now this one would probably delete it because it's a little confusing. I feel my topic should be approved because it is highly debatable. Okay, main paper thesis, my topic should be approved. Awesome. It is highly debatable. Claim number 1, and there are plenty of resources. Claim number 2. My thesis is highly debatable. Subject. If I go to the end, both sides have numbers and evidence to back their claim. Okay, so he seems to be saying highly debatable, and then he's talking about both sides. Perfect. That is round form. Let's see if he proves it true. Again, this is a bit of a short space, just like Cassandra's paper, to prove that there's 2 sides of an argument and give examples for both sides, but let's see if he achieved it. Both sides of the argument have valid points backed by research and statistics. John Thielen explains that even if each student athlete were given a $100,000 salary, it would be equivalent to the scholarship program already in place. In this case, it is hard to argue that the students aren't already getting paid enough for their services. So this acts as analysis, this sentence, but it is opinion in there as well. I wouldn't mark anything for it, but it does seem to be kind of borderline opinion. We want to keep our opinions out of it, but it's okay to analyze what the source is saying, basically, and that's kind of what this seems to be doing. On the other hand, Alabama's football program makes around $100 million per year. However, Alabama's numbers are a rarity. Okay, so we see the citation here for Besler, and we see Thielen's citation here, so we know this is 2 separate articles. He didn't introduce the name of the study or the lead researcher. That could have really made a stronger support, and or the credentials of at least the lead researchers on these studies. That would have made it even stronger. But these are great summaries of the main point of the research. It does seem to be 2 different sides of a coin. This Besler argument doesn't really argue that they should be paid more. It's just kind of setting the stage for how much one program makes. So let's see if the next sentence gives us a stronger argument for the other side. However, Alabama's numbers are a rarity. Out of the 120 FBS Division I schools, only 12 made a profit or broke even. Clearly, there are schools that profit, such as Alabama, but that does not imply all students, but does that imply all student athletes should be paid? So I guess the Besler and Bakshin citations don't really strongly show the other side of the coin. I would, if they are meant to, I would state this stronger so we can see as clearly as Thielen is against paying student athletes that these people are for it. So this is pretty good. This is really good writing overall. The CSC form is clear. Your evidence really gets at, it could be stronger, but it gets at what the claim was attempting to prove. Let's look at the second one. I've already collected evidence that supports my thesis. So when I see this, I expect bunches of citations that list a bunch of evidence. If I go to the end, these are just a few pieces of evidence that support my thesis. Pretty round form. The meaning didn't change from the intro to the conclusion of your claim, so that's good job. Athletic scholarships are nothing new. Our athletic scholarships are not new. We changed that nothing new, that's colloquial language. Therefore, there is plenty of factual evidence to support my thesis. Val Ackerman talks about the argument saying, they're not exploited and they're educated. By some measures, these students receive more in benefits than the average American makes in a year of income. Secondly, so this actually supports not paying them as well. So this Ackerman could actually been copy and pasted and used in this paragraph after Thielen to show that there's two sides of the debate. But it works here too because you're just showing that you have more support. So it does work here as well. Secondly, if the NCAA did decide to start paying their student athletes, it would be difficult to do so fairly. Most colleges don't have funds to pay these student athletes, therefore. So again, this could have been put in the paragraph above, but you're just proving that you have current evidence. Now for this, when you ever have a claim that says you have a lot of evidence, I would quickly cite it. A quick introduction of the article and summary as Cassandra did here in one of her paragraphs. She did a great job, this sentence here. This is how quickly you should be doing it. If you're saying you have an abundance of evidence, it should be boom, one source, boom, another source, boom, another source, just proving abundance. You don't have to do 100 of them, but doing 3 or 4 would be nice if that's your primary statement. So let's skip to the conclusion here and see how concise it is. I would greatly appreciate the approval of my proposed topic, main paper thesis. It's kind of asking me instead of saying my topic should be approved. Remember, thesis statements are strong. Your main paper thesis is my topic should be approved. I feel I would be able to provide suitable amount of information on either side of the topic, and I have no problem finding credible sources. Those are a summary of the claims. Awesome. After some preliminary research, I feel the current collegiate, and then he goes on to say his working thesis. This is how I like it. Look at how concise this is. It makes sense altogether, but it's boom, main paper thesis, boom, claims, boom, working thesis. Fantastic job here. And as we know, annotated bibliography was required for this. I love this annotated bib. You know you have to add the URL and MLA. Nowadays, it's a new thing, and your annotations are very, very clear. This is great work in the annotated bib. The only thing I would say is if you put the actual page numbers in citation form within the annotations themselves, it does save you work on the back end, but it is not necessary. This is more of a summary of your works, and that works for now. Good job here, Jay.